Hello all and welcome to the latest episode of Parry's Pickups. Thanks again for joining us. Today it's all about PlayStation, but not just one type of PlayStation, two types of PlayStation, but not the second one. That's PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 3. First up, we've got Sled Storm. Ooh, Sled Storm. You might have seen this game hanging around in your local video game store and thought, generic Snowmobile game, not bothered with that one. It's rather good, actually. You know, it's EA, so it's got some pedigree there. EA usually do put out good games, and this is no exception, should I say. It plays really well, actually. Great mechanics in this game. Great physics for the snowmobile racing. Fantastically appropriate 90s style sound. I say 90s soundtrack. Well, it was 1999. You've got Rob Zombie on there with Dragula, and it also says you've got I don't know this band, but Econoline Crush. Maybe that's not the right pronunciation. Uberzone, E to Z Rollers, Dam and Roland, and more. I really only know Rob Zombie off that particular list. But it's a fitting soundtrack for a very solid and enjoyable snowmobile game. I talked about this a little bit on the podcast as well. It's very straightforward. It does do 4-player with a multi-tap as well, which is very nice. It's analog compatible, in case you're wondering. It's got everything you want. It's got nice visuals. It's got reasonably nice character designs and a character selection screen. It is a solid, enjoyable snowmobile game without all the bells and whistles that you might get in a modern game, but its core gameplay is solid. There's not much I can say. You can get big air. That's one thing. Super Snowcross is also featured, as well as a more kind of like open areas for racing. So, if you're after a snowmobile game for the PS1, you could do far worse than this game. If you want one for PS3, you can get a Ski-Doo Challenge, which is actually also a lot of fun, which I think I featured on one of the other episodes of Parry's Pickups. I've never been on a real snowmobile myself, by the way. I just quite like the games. Next up, Digimon World. Now, as regular watchers of this series will know, I've recently been playing Digimon World something or other, the one on the PS4, and that is a spiritual successor to what is this game here, and I was very interested in finding out where it all began, and it's very cool to see how the basic concepts that began with this game evolved into those in the PS4 game. It's very nice. You do the usual Digimon things. I actually haven't played the other game. I sort of knew basically what I needed to do. It's a little bit more straightforward in this game. You've only got one Digimon. It did ask me at the very beginning, do you have a Digivice? And I thought, I need to say yes, even though I don't have a Digivice. It says yes. I don't know what impact that has on the game as of yet, but maybe I would imagine it just forgoes explaining some things about raising Digimon, because basically those core mechanics of raising Digimon on a Digivice are, contained within this game. That's feeding and taking Digimon to the toilet, making sure your Digimon get sleep, training, all these core concepts are what makes up Digimon World. You're tasked with a very similar task that you are in the other one on the PS4, where you need to go outside of the Digimon town, or I think it's called File World or something like that, and round up some Digimon who have left the town and bring them back to kind of rebuild the town. I'm sure some other stuff will happen as the game progresses, but it's fun. It's kind of what I expected it to be. The graphics are rather nice. PS1 game. It's very well put together. What is slightly annoying though is the load screens between areas. Whenever you move from a screen onto another screen that makes up the overhead map, it's a lot like Zelda in that respect. It has to load each screen. And it doesn't take a heck of a lot of time, but it takes enough for it just to be a little bit annoying. And of course, in the newer game, you don't get that problem. So maybe I'd say the PS4 Digimon games are a great place to start. It definitely works upon and builds upon the concepts developed in this game. This is a very interesting thing to go back and look at. It's got a lot more of the classic Digimon characters available from the start. You actually start with Agumon there. Agumon, there he is. And you get to name the character as well, should you want to. Very cool. It was a little bit more expensive than I'd usually spend on a PS1 game, but after doing a bit of eBay research, I realised the asking price for this was okay. It's 200 krona. It's about £20. This game also does not come with a manual. It's usually more than I'd spend on a game like this, but from what I could see online, the asking price for this was around the £20 or more mark. Anyway, just for a loose disc in some cases, so not so bad. Sled Storm, just to go back to that for a second, was 50 krona. And both these games were purchased from Epic Panda in Aarhus, Denmark, which is a great place to pick up retro games should you be in the Aarhus area of Denmark. Next up, we're going to move on to some PS3 games. And actually, first of all, a game I've actually had for some time. I haven't got around to recording yet. I've sort of been avoiding recording PS3 games for a while because the workaround with the capture device that I've got involves me having to switch the video output to component. And because I use my PS3 a lot just for watching movies and stuff, I hadn't wanted to change the video output because it meant the next time I use it I'd have to reset it, and there's a lot of going back and forth fiddling around with cables and wires, and so I'd held back on covering this game, but here it is, and that game is Need for Speed The Run. I mentioned it on the podcast a fair few weeks ago now actually. Played a little bit more of it today to capture some footage of the game, and it still plays really well. I haven't run into the major criticism of this game. It's QuickTime events. You'll get little cutscenes which are required to QuickTime events just to tell the story of the game. And the problem there being is that's not racing, and you buy a Need for Speed game for racing. The majority of the game I've played though is racing, at least, which is really fun. The beginning of the game sets up the story. You're doing this run basically from one side of America to the other side, and during that time it'll be split into like little events. You've got to make up so many places to complete an event. So you start off in like last place. You've got to maybe make 5 places, otherwise you fail the event, so you have to retry. So it's really split up into bite-sized portions and very challenging as well. These levels are designed for you to just get through, you know what I mean? It's like you can't make too many mistakes. It's a good level of challenge within the game. It looks really nice as well. The footage you'll see isn't HD. It's will capture a component, so I guess it is HD to an extent. It's 720p, I think, but through a component cable. So, but you can kind of get an idea that the game does look really nice and it handles very well. Great fun Need for Speed game. I'm not so hung up on the QuickTime aspects of the game. So far they've been few and far between. There's a lot of racing in this and it's a lot of fun, but it is challenging, as I mentioned. Those events are a real challenge, so check it out if you want some more Need for Speed action and maybe pass this one up because you didn't know if it was going to be a worthy entry into the series. It certainly is a good Need for Speed game. Spider-Man Web of Shadows. So I imagine at this time this was quite mind-blowing because it's so smooth and it really does make you feel like Spider-Man. Talking about the web slinging, flying through the city, it really does give you that exhilarating feeling. And of course we've had that in maybe Spider-Man 2, but this one actually ups the ante quite a bit, and it's truly like a next-gen Spider-Man game. The controls are good. They can feel a little bit awkward at times, especially when you're going from a swing to attaching yourself to a wall. Sometimes things don't actually work out exactly as you'd like them to. You have to press a circle button to attach yourself, and sometimes that just isn't as smooth as it should be. But for the most part, the travelling around as Spider-Man and the feeling of being Spider-Man is incredibly immersive and enjoyable. It's got good graphics. It's an early PS3 game. It's not got the greatest graphics, but it does have a very wide open city to explore. And they're certainly passable and very nice in places, but don't compare this to a later PS3 game. It doesn't look quite as good as that. The first few things I've done were working with Luke Cage to, what would I say, take down some local gangs that are causing some trouble in the area. The story's just getting going. You've got this mechanic where you can switch between two Spider-Man suits, the black suit and the regular suit, and they both have different abilities, and you upgrade them. Venom does appear in the game, as does Wolverine in this case as well. So there's some moral choices you need to take as well as you play this game. Web of Shadows is a title. It's a slightly more dramatic edge than maybe some of the other more fun, playful Spider-Man games. But it's really very good. It's one player. It's got some 6-axis motion sensitive stuff in there somewhere. I haven't encountered that yet. But it is a lot of fun, and I don't think you'll be disappointed by this game at all if you're a Spider-Man fan or you just like good open world sandbox type adventure games. It was pretty expensive. I think this one cost me just under 200 kroner. Now that's a lot, I know, but this game does seem to be keeping its value, at least on eBay. I did previously own this, bought it from Cash Generator in the UK for a very reasonable price, actually cheaper than I ended up paying for this copy. But unfortunately the game didn't work, so I had to take that one back. When I finally saw this and realised how expensive it would be for me to get it online, I bought this copy from GameStop. It works fine, thankfully. I'm really happy to have it. I've been working to get a Spider-Man game for every system that I own. I think pretty much, yeah. And this is the one I've got for the PS3, and it's a really good entry into the Spider-Man game series. And that's it for this time's episode. Thank you very much for checking it out. Apologies there wasn't an episode last week. I got pretty busy and wasn't able to do one. But we're back this time, and there will be more to come. Realise next episode will be episode 60 of Parry's Pickups. And I'm pretty sure that one's going to be coming to you from the UK, as I'll be there next week, because I'm going to see Sparks in the UK, in Manchester. So that should be really fun. So until then, thanks very much for watching the latest episode of Parry's Pickups, and we'll see you again for more. Game on!